We have more races to get to than we have time to get to them. So, Dan Foley and Laura Sanchez, Tom Garrity, Sophie Martin, welcome to you all. House District 4, let's get right to it. Over in San Juan County near the Four Corners. Sophie, let me start with you. Could Ray Begay really be at risk of losing his seat to Sharon Klacz here? Because there's some nasty stuff going on up there.
You know, this race is with a number of nasty races going on around the state, this one does seem rather uncomfortable to look at. We have allegations that Ray Begay double billed the taxpayers for some expenses. And we also have this interesting mailer that's come out from the Democratic Party saying that his opponent believes that to be Navajo is not enough. I'm not quoting that correctly, but a hard-hitting, I think, and probably kind of nasty piece.
I would agree. Dan, you know what's interesting about this? He's also asking, or alleged to have asked, a judge for a break for something his daughter had trouble with, a speeding ticket, I believe, or something along those, some traffic violation.
I think it was a couple things, and then there was children involved and some stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, and he was advocating as a father.
Yeah.
You know, I think this race is tough, but for the Republicans' sake, for the first time, we're going to have a Navajo running against the Navajo. Normally, we wind up putting some Anglo up there against them, and you wind up getting pounded on the reservation because you don't have someone that speaks the language. Now you have Sharon Klacz. She's worked in Washington. She ran for Secretary of State, has a great pedigree, and is a great candidate for the Republican side to be reaching out on Navajo land. So I think if it was anybody but her, it wouldn't be a problem for Ray Begay.
Yeah, there you go. Stay right there, Daniel. Moving down the state, could a Los Alamos district go Democrat? Stephanie Garcia Richard is raising serious money there. And we're talking about District 43. Daniel, is this a redistricting thing solely or something else going on here?
I think it's a combination of both. You know, remember she ran and almost won a few elections ago. You know, she lost to Jeanette Wallace by just a few votes.
Right.
Was probably one of Jeanette Wallace's most ardent opponents. But you know, Hall has the joy of incumbency, and you look at what's going on up there. You know, they seem to be over the years. Los Alamos seems to be. The battle is when the seat's open. Once they get someone, they stick with them. They're not a big place for turning over in legislative races. A lot of people have taken runs at Jeanette Wallace. There were runs taken other legislators on the D side. Even when the seats got stronger, you just can't win. So it's going to be a hardy race for Hall, but I bet Hall pulls it out at the end.
Laura just can't win, or does Hall have a secret weapon here, possibly, even given what Dan said? Just some change in the air that folks are looking for in that county.
Does Stephanie Richard have it?
Yeah.
Well, I think,
sorry, my fault.
Oh, absolutely. I think, you know, she ran a really tough race the last time, came within just a few votes of Jeanette Wallace, who'd been in. You know, she was the incumbent, unlike Hall, who's only been in for about a year and a half at this point. You know, Stephanie Richard has really been amassing, I think, her support for a while now within the last since the last election. So I think she's got a good chance. She's done a lot of fundraising, reached out to all parts of the state, has a lot of support from women's groups as well. So I think that she's going to do well, and I think it's a gettable win.
Yeah. Would you agree with that, Tom? Gettable, winnable?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, she's been in the wings, and I think now is her time. It's her time to shine, and I would not be surprised to see her win at all.
Yeah, stay right there, mister. We're going to skip down south. Andy Nunez, the lone independent in the legislature, is fighting Phil Archuleta. And Mike Tellez, I always get his name. Thank you. I always screw that up. Tom, let me stay with you. Why is Andy Nunez having to fight so hard we're talking about District 36 in the Mesilla Valley. Why is this such a hard fight for him right now?
Well, it's an extremely difficult fight, mainly because the governor, who he supported on the very difficult immigration issue, has now turned against him by basically turning all of her pit bull, if you will, after him. And so he's got a very difficult time ahead of him because, but the one thing he does have in his favor is a base.
Right.
In fact, one of the things, we're tracking a lot of different races on Facebook to see how folks are utilizing social media. And what's interesting is that Andy Nunez has 0 likes on his Facebook page, but he's still doing better than his other opponents who have no Facebook presence at all. Wow. So, it should be very interesting to see if that comes into play.
That's kind of fascinating.
Isn't it though? But,
right.
But he's going to win because of his base, and because I think that people might be a little bit tired of the governor's trying to flex her muscles, so to speak.
Sure. Sophie, touch on that as well. I mean, not the safe Facebook-like stuff, which is
right.
still fascinating, but the race itself, yeah.
Well, I think, it's sort of an interesting dynamic whenever an independent sort of forms himself or forms herself, leaving a major party and going out there. There's got to be some angst around that. There's got to be some concern. And Andy has such high name recognition, is so well known in his district. It almost feels like to me like it's not such a big deal for him, whereas it might be in other situations.
Sure. Let's bring it closer to home, a little south of Albuquerque, District 7 and 8. 7 is open as David Chavez runs for Senate Democrat Andy Barretas and Kelly Fajardo going at it there. And then Republican Alonso Baldonado faces a challenge from Frank Otero. Laura, you got to take this one because it's just like the pieces are like a chessboard here.
It really is.
Try to parse
I mean,
this one out for us.
right. No,
love this.
I needed a flow chart to figure this one out. And I think Valencia County in general is a very interesting bellwether for the state. I mean, it has been changing over time. I think in the last election in 2008, it actually leaned more Republican than it had in the past. And so, and then we saw this shift in the 2 seats that had been held by Democrats being held by Republicans. So I think this is one that's going to be really close. I do think in particular with seat 7, which is David Chavez's old seat, Andrew Barreras used to hold that seat, and then David Chavez won. So it's a Republican seat currently, but then Barreras running against Kelly Fajardo could be really interesting, I think. There's a lot of outside money, not necessarily in this race, but a lot of outside money targeting this area on both sides, Democrat and Republican. So I think that's going to have an effect on these races.
I appreciate you saying this area because, Dan, it seems like this area, that there's so much dust in the air right now, whether House or Senate side. I mean, how is that impactful for House races, given all that's going on there?
Oh, it's very impactful because one of the things it does is senators generally raise more money than the House candidates. So if your senator is in a big battle, they suck more of that money out that you can't go get. So I think it raises real concerns. I think the Republican Party is really, really strong in these races. I think the Republican Party, the so-called pit bull, which I would say is a pretty good strategist, knows the importance of this area of the state and knows the importance of being able to pull a win out of there. I would say that I think that Fajardo is by far one of the most articulate candidates we have running right now as a newcomer.
So you say we on
the Republican side, and she's done a very good job of articulating her message. Baldonado, on the other hand, is maybe one of the hardest workers out there. That guy, I mean, I was just down in Berlin yesterday for some work, and I mean that guy's got signs everywhere. He's got signs on big giant billboards. Wow. He's got signs hanging from bridges and walls, and I mean he's got signs everywhere. So
is this another legacy of all the money that's at play down there?
Well, I'm not sure. You know, down in those places, it's going to be interesting to see because I think it's kind of like Roswell. You know, money is a big deal, obviously, but it's about knocking doors. In these communities, it's about knocking doors. I think that Barreras has the problem of no matter how long you serve, whether it's 1 term or 2 terms or 20 terms, you get people mad at you. And so, you know, this stuff out there about the sweetheart deal with his rent, there's got to be other people out there saying, boy, I wish I would have had that deal. And so he's got to make a comeback. Was one of the nicest guys in the legislature, never said much, very strong Catholic. Barreras is, good family man. But it's going to be interesting to see. It's a good battle between him and Fajardo. But I think Fajardo can pull it out. I think Baldonado is going to win big.
Interesting. Let's get into the metro area. House 15, the district that scared Bill O'Neill so bad he ran for the Senate, so to speak. Kidding, Bill. We're just kidding. But this is much more competitive. Democrat Emily Kane and Chris Salcedo, Sophie. Again, open seats always engender interesting, not just interesting candidates, but interesting races. You know, just something extra going on there.
You know, Emily Kane has a really interesting bio. Albuquerque fire captain. I mean, a really kind of a fascinating story there. And she won a hard-fought Democratic primary. O'Neill held that seat before. I think it'll be interesting to see whether it shifts. I actually don't anticipate a big shift. Does anybody?
Well, I mean, this is an interesting seat because when O'Neill
Became more Republican.
It became more Republican. I mean, when O'Neill held it, it had a lot of the heights. It actually shifted quite a bit in the North Valley. So now it's actually got some different precincts than it did before when O'Neill held it. So it's still a Democrat-leaning district, but I think it always was tough for a Democrat to win in this district. I think it's still tough. And what's interesting to me is the amount of outside money in this race. Kane and Barreras, that we just spoke about, are 2 of the ones that are being targeted right now for trying to basically connect them to Richardson and the politics of the past. So it's interesting that they've picked those 2 races. And I think that, Chris Salcedo is an attorney. He's, active in the community. I think he's been out there pounding on doors.
And as well, Tom, he is also supported by this governor and the machinations of the governor's office.
Yeah,
well.
but Kane has really been hard. I mean, she's been working it, and she's been doing a really good job about making inroads and stuff. This will be one of those races, I think, one of those bellwether type races to take a look at to see how everything else will go.
I want to stay with you, but Sophie made an interesting point about Ms. Kane's background. How impactful is that? Because it seems like there's always an interesting when an outsider, so to speak, gets into the political game and goes for office. That background becomes important. Does that mean anything?
I think
or
it does.
Can it mean something?
it can mean
folks?
something,
Okay.
especially to people who are new to the state, less than
Yeah.
5 years, and which that area definitely represents that type of population. So she could benefit from that.
Yeah, interesting. Hold there, Dan. Marcy Blaze, we're going to get to, takes on Republican Paul Pacheco for Dave Doyle's old seat. We spoke about this last week. Can I get you to weigh in on that one as well?
You know, I think this seat, as well as all these other seats, I think it's going to be about the ground game. It's not going to be about all this money. I think this money gets you the name recognition. This money gets you to when you knock on the door, someone says, "Oh yeah, I know who you are." That can be good and bad, but I think it's going to be about who is following up this mail campaigns and these radio and TV ads with walking. I think Blaze has a tough problem to overcome. So does Pacheco in this race too. You know, he ran and lost to Dave Doyle, but he's getting all that support right now. I think those ads that they're running against Blaze are, you know, I know people where I live over in Rio Rancho. They've been very effective. My people are really asking, has this lady really been, really bankrupt a company and been indicted? And I think that's stuff that really, I mean, when you start hearing that, the problem for a candidate when you're knocking doors isn't about getting people to vote for you. You spend all your time not trying to convince someone you're not a bad guy or girl. Trust me, I've been there. So, you know, when your time on the doorstep is not about vote for me, it's about I'm not that evil monster, it can be a really tough mountain to climb.
That's interesting. House District 24, let's go there. Conrad James, he's conventionally known as a safe Republican seat in the House District 24. No longer. Political performance shows a 50-50 split, and Elizabeth Thompson wants a shot, Sophie. Interesting split there. You got to be encouraged if you're Ms. Thompson.
Oh my goodness,
Yeah.
absolutely. This is one of those interesting pieces. You know, she has recently come out pretty strongly with some statements against Governor Martinez. Thompson has strong things to say about education in this state, which I think may resonate with some voters. And is running an interesting race.
Interesting. Dan, I'm going to go back here,
Yeah.
just real quick on that one.
It's an unbelievably important race. African-American Republican running. Conrad James may be one of the smartest guys that serves in the legislature.
Right.
Unbelievable yeoman this man is. He openly said, take seats out of my district to help Republicans statewide. He fell on his sword. And so, you know, I think the party is running to support him. I think people are supporting him. And I think this could be one of the biggest blows to the Republican Party if we lose someone like Conrad James in the
Interesting.
legislature.
Tom, your take on that one as well. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
I agree with the gentleman to my left, on the left. But no, in all honesty, yeah. I mean, Conrad James, he's a great candidate. He's done great stuff. Hopefully he'll get reelected.
Sure. Let's go down south a little bit. House 30. Nate Gentry. This one leans more strongly Republican, but it's been a nasty race between that incumbent Nate Gentry and Mary Ellen Broderick, not south from here, not southern part of the state. Can almost
South
hit
from
it.
our office.
Right. Can
Yes.
almost hit it with a rock from here. I'm amazed, Laura, that this race is still so close, given what Nate Gentry's background, history has been there. He's been in the district.
Worked for Domenici.
Worked for Domenici. The whole thing. And Mary Ellen, this is her first run at office, but it's fairly close at this point.
It seems that way, yeah. I mean, I think this is an interesting one. Unfortunately, it's gotten very negative, and I think there's been some negative attention and possibly some backlash against Nate as a result of some of that negativity. There was a mailer that went out that was not well received, I think, from a lot of people. But then there was also a YouTube video that Mary Ellen had done a couple of years ago. You know, this is, for me, I know both of these people personally.
She was an activist.
She has been an activist, and you know, in circles where activist is not a bad word. You know?
right.
So, and I think she has, you know, she's definitely a leader in her own way. I know Nate Gentry also, though, hard worker, has pounded the doors. That's how he won in the first place. I mean, he really has a good ground game. So I think this is going to be one
Carried
that
a
will
lot
be
of
very
water for the
interesting.
governor too. I mean,
Absolutely.
that's one of the things that could be coming back too. I mean, he's been to the forefront of a lot of these issues, press conferences, raising a lot of money, and that gets you on the radar. You know, he's an up and comer, and he's someone that Democrats really are targeting. I think not only because of his effectiveness in Santa Fe, but his effectiveness at raising money. He's been out raising a ton of money, and that's someone that you don't want to keep around in the legislature.
You live fairly close, don't you?
Actually, that is my district.
Oh, it is? Yeah, I thought
and,
so.
You know,
Okay,
that House
yeah.
district has had so much flux. You know, remember, it was Justine Fox Young, and then the other lady came in, and
Giannini.
then Giannini, yeah.
Giannini.
And I mean, these are not typical
Who Nate
politicians.
beat. Democrat came in. Nate beat Giannini.
That's
And
right.
so, you know, it's a very, you know, it's definitely a swing area. And, you know, Nate's been working the doors. I haven't seen a whole lot of his opponent. But, you know, I think that Republicans really need to be very concerned about this.
I was wondering at home before the taping today, wondering, again, this Mary Ellen race, I wonder if there's something she is saying one-on-one, person-to-person that's registering it, meaning it's organically being effective somehow. you look at the money difference, the reputation difference, something's keeping this close. I'm not quite sure what it is.
Well, I think it's she has a very genuine approach. You know, her stuff looks like the common person, whereas Nate's is very slick. It looks really good, and sometimes in that, you know, it's a very economically diverse area. Sure. And so that could come back to backfire against Nate because the stuff looks so good.
Right.
I mean, it has changed. The district also, since the time that it was represented by, I'm losing, who was
Justine Fox.
Justine Fox, sorry. When she represented it, and even when Karen Giannini represented this district, it has changed. I mean, now it goes all the way south, basically to Montgomery, actually down to Manal in some areas, Manal, Kendall area, Osuna, Academy in the north, as far north as that, and San Mateo to Eubank. You know, so we're talking about areas that have been shifting quite a bit.
Think
in the
about the
last
area
couple of years.
around Manal versus where you just said a second up. It's a vast
Very
difference
different.
in
Very
economics,
different.
everything.
Absolutely.
Marilyn gets a lot of love from the progressive community. She gets a lot of love from bloggers. She is very well known in those groups, and I have seen the progressive community, Progress Now New Mexico, for instance, really coming out for her and carrying some water for her out in the community. Whether that is enough in that district remains to be seen, but I am not surprised that she gets this groundswell of support. She is very genuine, she is very likable, and she is very well known and liked by people in the community.
What you were saying earlier, she's laid a groundwork, right, in that area for lots of things in her past.
Absolutely, she has.
Absolutely. We get into more Albuquerque and Southern New Mexico battles online. Find us at newmexicoinfocus.org. In a moment, we'll talk to the people tallying the votes on election night.